Hello, this is Catherine from Accelerated Reader. Today I will be reading Chapter 3 from Anchen, The Story of a Butterfly by Surina Nel. Before I begin reading, I would like to give a big thanks to the author for sending me this book to read on my channel. In the description below, I've included links where you may find and purchase this book. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Chapter 3. In the classroom, all the pupils sat quietly. Mrs. Mantis, a big old praying mantis, looked across her thick, red-framed glasses over the class. The gray hair, like little tufts of cotton wool, and red lips made her scary looking. No one said a word, nor moved. Her gaze fell on Luke, a confident little ladybug. He had a bush of black hair that curled around his face. "Luke, tell us what you want to be when you grow up," Mrs. Mantis said in a husky voice. Luke looked around, then got up. "I want to be like my dad, a businessman," he said, and tucked on his blazer. Mrs. Mantis nodded and scanned across the classroom for her next victim. She fiddled with the big, thick-framed glasses. Her gaze stopped on a shy and very timid little mosquito girl. "Marie, what do you want to be?" The tiny little, leggy little mosquito cringed in her chair. Her demeanor was the exact opposite of Luke, who has just sat down. She looked around the class and then back at Mrs. Mantis. She visibly pulled herself together and stood up on wobbly legs. Hardly audible, she said, "Ma'am, I would like to be a ballerina." Marie managed a smile before taking her seat. Her legs and hands still shivered from the extreme anxiety of speaking in front of the class. Mrs. Mantis had reset her red-framed glasses. She fiddled with an imaginary hair in one of her big gray curls, straightened up her brown suede jacket, and focused her attention on Anchen, who sat in the third row from the front. "How about you, Anchen?" she said. Anchen took a quick look around the class, then wiggled out of her chair. In her hands, a leaf with some writing on was trembling. She looked at the leaf in her hands briefly, then up to her teacher, Mrs. Mantis. "When I grow up, I want to be a dragonfly," she said with a trembling voice. All the pupils in the class burst out in laughter at the statement. Little Benny, the grasshopper, even fell from his chair. He was holding his stomach as he was laughing. Marie, the timid little mosquito, tried to cover up a giggle with her hand, but her big eyes gave her away. Luke, the ladybug, was pointing at Anchen, laughing with his head thrown backward. Anchen looked around. It seemed to her that the room started to grow bigger and bigger as it slowly started to spin around and around. All Anchen saw was the kids pointing and laughing at her. Her eyes grew big and teary, and before she knew what she was doing, Anchen found herself chewing on the leaf she was holding into her hands, dryly swallowed the big lump in her throat, and took her seat, wishing the world would open up and swallow her whole. "That is enough, all of you," Mrs. Mantis scolded. "You should be ashamed of yourselves. One never laughs at the dreams of another, ever." The order slowly returned to class. Some pupils still giggled. In the back of the class, Samantha, a pretty, slender dragonfly, whispered something to her Chloe. The two dragonfly girls looked at Anchen and smiled at each other with menace. Visibly upset, Mona faced Rainer. They were in a heated argument. Mona looked Rainer in the eye, not willing to back down. Mona was speaking at the top of her voice, almost shouting through the tears. You do not understand. I am lonely. You are never here. You are always at work. You never have time for us, for me, she shouted. She swung around, and like a caged animal, she paced the room. Rainer shook his head, his hand up in defense. No, you are not going to blame this on me. I work to give you the life I promised to you and our daughter. But you and Matt, I cannot. Rainer shouted back angrily. What about Matt and me? We are friends. We always have been. He helps me with things you do not do, things I have been asking you to do for... Mona stopped mid-sentence and swung around to face Anchen, who had burst into the living room, shocked. She looked at her parents, eyes big with shock. Anchen looked from one parent to another. Mona turned to Anchen and comforted the shocked little caterpillar. Rainer had no choice but to leave the argument until later. He left the room and headed to his study, briefcase in hand. He slammed the door shut. Mona looked up when the door shut close. Her shoulders sagged a little. She shook her head and then returned her attention to Anchen. How was your day, baby girl? She asked, with a tremble in her voice. Anchen did not answer. She swallowed back the tears that were fighting to break through her defenses. Why were you shouting at Dad? She asked. Mona took a deep breath. Honey, sometimes grown-ups fight. Do not worry about it. Tell me about school, Mona said as she took Anchen's bag from her. Anchen looked at Mom, then told her about her day at school. She told Mona about the kids laughing at her for wanting to be a dragonfly and about the leaf she ate. Mona hugged Anchen. She placed her cheek on Anchen's blonde head. A big teardrop made its way across her cheek. Stay tuned for Chapter 4. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe. In the description below, I've included links where you may find and purchase this book.